You might think that as a marketer, all I really need to do my job is a laptop, and to some extent you'd be right. But I've spent the last 2 years really thinking about my workspace and setting it up to be the most joyful and productive working experience that I can possibly get working from home. If you've been watching my videos for some time, you'll notice that I've actually got a much bigger desk than I used to have. I actually inherited this one from my wife, but it's originally from IKEA, and I really appreciate the additional space that I've got here now to play around with. It allows me space for a plant, as well as a really big mouse mat, which I have been wanting for a long time. This one is by Beaver Peak. They're an independent company based in Canada, and it's made out of merino wool. It really makes me feel quite cozy when I'm sitting down to work. The mat goes all the way back to the edge of the desk, and so using that as well as this raised section, I've got a nice little storage unit for my keyboard whenever I want to put it away, and that just protects it from getting damaged by the light from this window behind me, as well as having a nice little place to tidy up at the end of the day. Having this raised unit also allows me to be at eye level with my monitor, which is this LG Ultrawide. And an Ultrawide is really useful if you are a marketer, because a lot of the time you're going to be working on big Excel spreadsheets, either for content plans or for lots of data, or you might even be doing light work, creative work yourself using programs like Photoshop or Adobe Premiere. Now the real hero of this desk setup is of course the M1 Mac Mini, which I picked up about 1.5 years ago. It's got 16GB of RAM, and it has been incredible for all of my needs, both in content creation and in my job. You might be surprised just how much power a marketer actually needs to do their job these days. Even if you are on the brand end of the scale where you're just working with big video files all the time, you're going to need a lot of power to actually handle that. And likewise, if you are right there in the data trying to mine insights out of all those numbers, then having a lot of RAM that can give you enough power to access SQL databases or download big amounts of data, that's actually really important to have a very good computer. One of the issues that I have had with the Mac Mini, although I do love it, has actually been Bluetooth and Wi-Fi issues. I was actually using an Anker USB-C hub, and apparently the frequency that it emits was clashing with my Wi-Fi signal and actually causing it to drop out. Now I don't know if there's anything wrong with that particular model or just the one that I had, but as soon as I swapped that out for another USB-C hub, the Wi-Fi issues basically went away, and my Mac Mini's been perfect ever since. The great thing about the Mac Mini though is that you can add all the different peripherals that you want to it, rather than being trapped into the magic mouse and keyboard if you don't like that. And to be fair, they're not bad choices, but I want to sit down at my desk and really feel joy and inspired by the technology I have around me, and that's why I absolutely love using this keyboard. It's the L80 Cosmic Traveler by IQUNIX, and it's got this amazing little space design over the keys. It's a mechanical keyboard with cherry blue switches, and it really leans into that old school mechanical keyboard vibe, I think. I've heard people say the design is a little bit juvenile, but I don't know, maybe I'm just a kid at heart. And I've actually found that having a keyboard that brings that playfulness out of me has made me a much more creative marketer and a better worker. Typing on the keyboard is a really nice experience, and you can get lost in a Word doc. It's just so much more satisfying than a membrane keyboard ever could be. That's paired up with the Logitech MX Master 3S mouse, which I mainly bought for video editing, but a lot of those features that work for video editing actually make it a great addition for a marketer too. Sometimes I find myself in really big Excel sheets, and this thing has got a kind of infinity scroll where you just flick it once and it will keep scrolling down to the bottom of an Excel page, and it's got this horizontal scroll here on the side as well, so you can actually go left and right along an Excel table, and just that alone saves me loads of time when working on a big sheet. One thing that I am not a fan of, and this is a problem with having a Mac Mini, is that webcams are generally pretty poor. And I always feel a bit awkward anyway in a call when I've got like an amazing webcam quality. But sitting next to this window, it's also really obvious that sometimes it just looks absolutely trash. And I often have to sort of like put on some of the effects in Google Hangouts to make sure that I'm actually presentable in a meeting. This is the Logitech CP20 webcam, and it's actually pretty expensive as they go, but I'm really not a fan of the video quality, and to be honest, if I was buying again, I'd be probably looking at something like that new Elgato face cam that's just come out. Elgato are essentially a brand for streamers and creators, but a lot of those features translate incredibly well for just general productivity as well. So over on the left here, you're going to see my Stream Deck, which is basically a big macro pad where you can program in different commands for your computer. Not only do I have a nice little weather app on mine, I've also got it linked up to Spotify so that I can cycle through my playlists whenever I like to, and I love the fact that I can see the channel icon there in the center of the display. Of course, I'm not going to be listening to my K-pop playlist most of the time when I'm working. I need something without lyrics that's going to kind of settle me down, and the Celeste playlist has actually been my companion for the last week or two. I just finished playing that game and I absolutely loved the music, and I find myself really settling down to work when I've got it on. In terms of actual productivity though, I've got one button that just launches all the main websites that I need to use when I'm going to work, and I have all of my long Excel formulas that I always forget in a little folder, so in case I ever need to sort of bash something out really quickly, or I keep forgetting how to do something like some product, I can just press a button and then copy it straight into an Excel table. Now, because this is an Elgato product, it fits seamlessly with all the other products that they produce, and I can also control my lighting here as well. Now, it does also work with things like Philips Hue, but I've just found that the Elgato lights are a lot more comfortable for me to use when I'm at work, and they also are just great for content creation, so I do have them around my desk. And we even have one more Elgato product to talk about, because I have the Elgato Wave 3 here, which is a brilliant condenser microphone. I use it for all my voiceovers when I'm doing shorts and things like that, but it's also really good in meetings. One thing that I really like about it is that I can actually just click the mute button on my microphone, and then I can also mute on the call, so I almost have a double mute, which just gives me a bit of assurance sometimes when, you know, this keyboard can be a little bit loud if I need to type something. And other than that, the sound quality is really good. It's probably overkill for a lot of the meetings that I'm in, but I really enjoy it. And I can plug my headphones into the back of it, which are these Rode RX100s. So again, this is like a piece of production tech, really. They're studio headphones that are designed for getting the best kind of equal sound balance out of music tracks that you're editing. So I use these for video editing most of the time, but they're also really comfy, and I actually quite enjoy wearing them on calls as well. Having a nice pair of headphones that are quite light, sit on your head and give you a bit of protection from the outside world just makes me feel a little bit more immersed in what I'm doing. You'll notice that there's one piece of the Apple ecosystem that I haven't touched on yet either, and that is my iPad Pro over there in the corner. Now again, you might think just having an iPad there for universal control, is it really going to add too much to my workflow? And actually it does, because as I say, as a marketer, I'm dealing with image and video files quite a lot, and as much as I like this display, it's not the most colour accurate. It doesn't really give me an idea of how things actually look. And if you think about, most people are going to be watching ads or looking at marketing material on their phones, a lot of the time on iPhones. So having an Apple device nearby where I can just test the colours using that reference mode on the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, it's actually really useful to make sure that the content we're receiving is of the standards that we need it to be. And sometimes I will just pull down my iPad and take notes with the Apple Pencil through a meeting, which I can then really quickly transform into like text and send it off as an email. And I speak about all the products I've been through today in this playlist on working from home, and if you're interested to hear more, then I encourage you to check it out and go and dig a little bit deeper into these products. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in a bit.